Brother, I'm sorry, I really can't let go of her. Looking at the two-faced stepbrother in front of me, along with my cheating ex-wife, I spun around and delivered a slap. In many tragic romance novels, the cowardly male lead often commits suicide. But I'm different. I flipped the script first: divorce, take 200 million, expose the bastard stepson, and throw the scumbag into jail. The day my ex-wife knelt down begging to get back together, I swirled the red wine in my hand. I apologize, but you should call me CEO Chi now. Before going to sleep, I scrolled through a few novels and stumbled upon a piece of literature that was tragic to the death. The male lead in it was a useless failure, constantly getting slapped, misunderstood, framed, and abandoned. It was as if he had no mouth, only silently enduring everything, ultimately committing a cowardly suicide. Reading it made me furious. I had to chain smoke 3 cigarettes before I could fall asleep. Damn it, who can stand that kind of story? You could tell it was a pornographic story, yet I still read the whole thing. I opened my eyes, and the sight that greeted me was a luxurious European-style living room. The glittering crystal chandelier made me dizzy. 3 seconds ago, I was lying in bed reading. Now I was standing in the middle of a group of strangers, holding a stack of papers. Chi Boda, what the hell are you handing out? Sign the divorce papers now. A girl's piercing voice stabbed directly into my eardrums. I lowered my head to look. The huge title on the document was Divorce Agreement. I looked up, and standing opposite me was an exquisitely made-up woman, Lu Ruyan, the female lead in that trashy novel. Beside her was a man in a suit, his eyes teary as he looked at me. Brother, I'm sorry. Di Tengqing, the female lead's white moonlight in the story, was gripping my hand, his voice choked with emotion. I really can't let go of Lu Ruyan. You've had her for 3 years, it's time to return her to me. This scene was sickeningly familiar. This was the exact moment the pathetic male lead in the story was forced into divorce by his whole family. I was speechless. I've really transmigrated into a book, and into the body of that spineless guy, Chi Boda. The plot had just reached the part where the white moonlight, Di Tengqing, returns to the country. Di Tengqing, the adopted son of the Chi family, was pressuring the male lead into divorce. I should have finished the book, slept, and gone to work the next day as usual, but instead, I got dragged into this mess. Looking at the faces before me, I just wanted to rush up and punch them twice. Before I could make a move, the male lead's mother, Zhang Zuelan, beat me to it. According to the original work, the male lead's face would always have to suffer 3 slaps. His biological mother doted on her adopted son to an incomprehensible degree. She didn't care about her biological son, but adopted an outsider. The most important thing was that the adopted son was actually the love child of his father and a mistress. Di Tengqing took his mother's surname, and his biological father somehow convinced the mother. Even though they had a biological son, they still had to bring an outside child home to raise, and they treated him better than their own son. I don't know whether to praise the author or curse the biological mother. I wonder if the mother would be furious to death if she knew the truth. Fortunately, I wasn't the weakling from the beginning, so I didn't need to endure this situation. With my current physique and strength, I immediately dodged Zhang Zuelan's slap. She stumbled, nearly falling, and angrily propped her hand on her hip, pointing a finger directly at me, panting heavily. You dare to dodge? You've got guts now. This was a development that wasn't in the original plot, but it was happening now. Di Tengqing quickly stepped up to support her, then turned his head and glared at me. Brother, how can you treat mother like that? If you're angry, take it out on me. He stomped his foot, looking exactly like a white lotus in a palace drama. He certainly lived up to the name of male green tea. I nearly spat out last night's dinner. This acting, Oscar owes him a golden statue. His series of maneuvers made Zhang Zuelan even more indignant, her eyes looking like she wanted to devour me alive. She trembled violently, her finger pointing at me like a machine gun. You still dare to dodge? Aiching is better than you in every way, obedient, understanding. And you? All you do is fool around all day. If Aiching hadn't gone abroad to pursue his dream, how could Ruyan have married a good-for-nothing like you? If you were sensible, you'd quickly divorce Ruyan and return Aiching's rightful place to him. I truly wanted to applaud them, to give them a standing ovation. What kind of author must it be to come up with such a ridiculous plot point just to torture the male lead? In the living room, there were still a few relatives sitting there watching the show, all of whom had contributed to bullying the male lead in the original work. According to the old script, Chi Boda would be verbally abused by the whole group, finally signing the divorce papers in tears. I looked at the people before me, a cold smile curling on my lips, and slowly opened my mouth. Mom, Do you know why Di Tengqing has the surname Di? Zhang Zuelan froze, obviously not expecting me to suddenly ask that. She frowned. Nonsense, of course, it's because his biological parents are surnamed Di. What else could it be? Is that so? I shoved both hands into my pockets, my gaze peeling back layers as I stared at Di Tengqing. Then why don't you ask him who his biological mother is? Di Tengqing's face instantly stiffened, but he quickly regained his look of innocence. He spoke in a choked voice. Brother, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm an orphan. My kind parents adopted me. I chuckled softly with contempt. An orphan? Then why is a birth certificate for you kept in father's safe? The person whose name is listed as the mother on it isn't Zhang Zuelan, but Di Teng Fong Zi. Ten Rieng Nai Duok Phenom Tu Tieng Viet Di Dang Phuong Tu Sanghan Viet / Pinyin La Di Tung Fong Zi De Ju Tin Lin Ket Trong Ten Tieng Trung. Zhang Zuelan's face changed immediately. She spun around to look at Di Tengqing, her voice trembling. Aiching, is what he's saying true? Di Tengqing's eyes contracted violently, but very quickly he showed a hurt expression. Mom, do you trust him or me? He must be making up this lie out of jealousy for me. I smiled coldly. A lie? Then I dare you. Let's go to father's study and open the safe together. Di Tengqing's composure finally broke. He lunged forward, grabbing my collar tightly, lowering his voice and grinding his teeth. Chi Boda, are you tired of living? I let him pull my shirt, the smile at the corner of my mouth deepening. What's scared now? Seeing the tense situation, Lu Ruyan quickly stood up to intervene. Aiching, don't be impulsive. Only then did Di Tengqing let go, but his eyes were still full of murderous intent that sent a chill down one's spine. Zhang Zuelan was in complete panic. She looked at me, then turned back to Di Tengqing, her voice trembling violently. What is going on here? Aiching, you really aren't an orphan. Di Tengqing took a deep breath, trying to force a smile. Mom, don't listen to his nonsense. He has no proof. I shrugged. It's true that I don't have the proof on me, but I can tell you that Dad's safe combination is your birthday plus Di Tengqing's birthday. If you don't believe me, you can go open it and verify now. Zhang Zuelan's face instantly turned pale. I was certain she wouldn't dare go. In the original novel, Zhang Zuelan both loved and feared Qi Jiangwo, never daring to touch his belongings without permission. Especially now that her confidence was shaken, she fundamentally lacked the courage to confront the truth. Di Tengqing immediately seized the moment. Mom, he's just trying to sow discord. If you really go through Dad's things, he'll be furious when he gets back. As expected, Zhang Zuelan hesitated. I said coolly, Mom, you've raised a son for 20 years, yet he doesn't even dare let you verify his background. Do you think he doesn't have a guilty conscience? Zhang Zuelan's eyes wavered increasingly. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Lu Ruyan immediately interrupted, changing the subject. Chi Boda, stop beating around the bush. You must sign the divorce papers today. I glanced at her, sneering. Sign? Lu Ruyan, are you so desperate for a divorce because you're afraid I'll expose your filthy little secret? Her face immediately changed color. What do you mean by that? March last year, you and Di Tengqing booked a room at the engagement hotel. I stared directly into her eyes and asked, do you need me to continue? Lu Ruyan's face instantly went white, her lips trembling. You? What are you talking about? I didn't have the physical evidence yet, but in the original work, Lu Ruyan and Di Tengqing genuinely had an early, ambiguous relationship. It was just that the old male lead always pretended not to know. I knew she would be flustered. Sure enough, Lu Ruyan's reaction was even more extreme than Di Tengqing's. He suddenly sprang up, his voice sharp as a knife. Chi Boda, you're slandering people. I smiled coldly. If you're in such a rush, fine, let's just go check the hotel's check-in register. Lu Ruyan immediately fell silent, her eyes darting nervously towards Di Tengqing. His face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He suddenly slammed his hand on the table. Chi Boda, what exactly do you want? I slowly adjusted my cuff. It's very simple. First, I can divorce, but I want 15% of the group's shares. Second, from today onward, anyone in this house who dares to threaten or bully me, watch out. I looked up, my cold gaze sweeping across everyone. I won't hesitate to reveal some people's secrets to Dad. The entire room fell silent, everyone suppressed by me. They weren't sure if I had the evidence, but it didn't matter. All I needed was to make them uncertain. Intimidation, in form, is sometimes more useful than a real sword. Just as the atmosphere thickened to its extreme, a loud clunk sounded, and the main door was forcefully pushed open. Qi Jiangwo stood in the doorway, his face dark, his eyes like knives. What is all this commotion? I smiled, thinking, how interesting. The final act has finally begun. Qi Jiangwo's leather shoes clicked heavily on the marble floor. His gloomy eyes swept across everyone in the living room, finally stopping on me. What happened? Before I could answer, Di Tengqing quickly dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Father. Brother. He's bullying me. I sneered at his performance. Oscar still owes him a dozen golden statues. He knelt, eyes red, lips trembling, feigning the fragility of a persecuted white flower, his voice choked. Brother, I'm sorry, I really can't let go of Lu Ruyan. You've had her for 3 years, it's time to return her to me. He expertly molded an image of weakness and pathetic helplessness that he held firmly in his grasp. Zhang Zuelan and Lu Ruyan immediately surged with maternal instinct, rushing forward, one from the left and one from the right to help him up, acting as though he was grievously wounded. Zhang Zuelan was so anxious she stomped her foot. Aicheng, don't let your knees suffer. Lu Ruyan shielded Di Tengqing, turning her face toward me and hissing. Enough, Qi Boda. We were married once, you don't need to make this so ugly, do you? I raised an eyebrow at my mother. Mom, is your head confused? I just told you, Di Tengqing is the illegitimate son of a mistress, have you forgotten already? Zhang Zuelan's expression froze for a moment, but quickly reverted to her usual severe look. Don't try to instigate division here. Aicheng has been obedient since he was a child, unlike you, always fooling around. I smiled lightly, feigning surrender. It's up to you if you want to raise the mistress's son, but I have conditions for the divorce. Lu Ruyan coldly handed back the divorce agreement. Sign it. Fine, I admit I was wrong to Aicheng before, the fault is mine, I accept it. I took the agreement, glanced at it, and burst into laughter. A pair of scumbags truly meant for each other. I'll sign, but on one condition. All marital assets belong to me, and you have to compensate me an extra billion. Without a notarized agreement, I'll make sure he leaves the house empty-handed. A flicker crossed Lu Ruyan's eyes, but to my surprise, she nodded without hesitation. Agreed. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, so readily? It seems this must be true love after all. Without another word, I immediately signed my name. God-given money, hesitating for even a second would be disrespectful to wealth. The marital assets, plus the compensation money, totaled over 200 million. This was something I wouldn't have dared to dream of praying for, lest I offend the gods. I deliberately let my hand tremble slightly and tossed the divorce agreement out, coincidentally knocking over Lu Ruyan's handbag. Oops, sorry about that. My hand slipped. The contents of her bag scattered all over the floor. I bent down, picked up a piece of paper, and pretended to be shocked. Oh, is this a prenatal checkup slip? Lu Ruyan's face immediately turned white. She lunged forward, trying to snatch it back, but I easily dodged. I held the paper high, deliberately reading aloud. 8 weeks pregnant. So, the two of you were in a hurry to get a birth certificate for the child then. Di Tengqing's face instantly twisted, and Zhang Zuelan froze. I laughed coldly. It's a good thing I divorced in time, otherwise, I would have been as unlucky as my mother, raising a mistress's child. Speaking of which, a mistress's child is still a mistress's child. I wonder if this little one will grow up to become someone else's mistress. A string of sarcastic remarks poured out, making Lu Ruyan tremble with anger. Di Tengqing's face was ashen, his fists clenched tight. I looked up at Lu Ruyan. Remember, the Civil Affairs Bureau at 10 a.m. sharp tomorrow. She quickly snatched the agreement as if afraid I would change my mind. Don't worry, the money will be transferred on time. Di Tengqing couldn't hold back. He embraced her waist, and the two exchanged a look of triumph. Zhang Zuelan was still bewildered by the secret of the illegitimate child that had just been exposed. The teacup in her hand tilted, and tea dripped onto the carpet. Be careful, Mom, or you might get burned. Di Tengqing immediately released Lu Ruyan, acting solicitously as he helped wipe Zhang Zuelan's hand, truly a master of performative character. The original novel had meticulously described this trait of his. Qi Jiangwo tapped his finger on the coffee table. Qi Boda, what did you just say? I shrugged. Nothing much. I was just letting mom know that the good son she's raised for 20 years is actually your love child with D Tung Fong Z. Crash. The teacup in Zhang Zuelan's hand fell to the floor, splashing tea everywhere. She trembled. Qi Jiangwo, you really... Qi Jiangwo's face instantly darkened, his sharp gaze raking over me. Where did you hear that from? I smiled. That's not important. What's important is whether you dare to open the safe right now and show mom that birth certificate. Qi Jiangwo narrowed his eyes, saying nothing. Di Tengqing frantically rushed forward and grabbed my collar. Qi Boda, stop being so stubborn. I let him pull my shirt, a smirk playing on my lips. What scared now? Bam! Qi Jiangwo slammed his hand hard on the table and roared. Enough! The room instantly fell silent. He stood up abruptly, his dark eyes sweeping over everyone, finally settling on Zhang Zuelan. We'll discuss this matter later. Zhang Zuelan's face was chalk white, her lips quivering. Qi Jiangwo, you really... Qi Jiangwo didn't answer. He turned to look at me. Qi Boda, are you determined to handle this divorce in this way? I am determined. He smiled coldly. Fine, then from today onward. Don't you dare touch any of the Qi family's resources, not even a single fraction. I smiled softly. Dad, did you forget? I just took 200 million from Lu Ruyan. Qi Jiangwo's expression suddenly stiffened. I calmly added. Moreover, are you sure you want to turn against your biological son for the sake of an illegitimate one? A flicker flashed in Qi Jiangwo's eyes, but before he could speak, Di Tengqing lunged straight at me. Qi Boda, you're looking for death. He swung his fist directly at my face. I leaned away to dodge, swiftly grabbing his wrist and forcefully twisting it back. Arg! Di Tengqing screamed in pain, his knees buckling, forcing him straight to the ground. I looked down at him, smiling coldly. Is that all you've got? Lu Ruyan shrieked and rushed over. Qi Boda, let him go. I released his hand. Di Tengqing stumbled back 2 steps, his face utterly grey. Qi Jiangwo finally erupted in anger, pointing his finger at me and yelling, Get out! Get the hell out of here now! I shrugged, turned, and walked straight towards the door, but before stepping out, I didn't forget to turn back and deliver one last sentence. Oh, that's right, Dad. Perhaps you should change the safe combination. Qi Jiangwo's face immediately turned pitch black. I closed the door, a radiant smile on my face, feeling incredibly relieved. I absolutely refused to continue playing the role of that spineless male lead. Stepping out of the Qi family villa, I stood on the porch and took a deep breath. For the first time in 3 years, my lungs felt so comfortable, or rather, this body had finally been able to breathe freely for the first time in 3 years. I opened my phone contacts, scrolling all the way to the bottom. The number noted as Wu Wenbin hadn't been contacted in 3 years. In the original novel, the male lead used to be so strictly controlled by Lu Ruyan that he wasn't even allowed to hang out with friends, so he gradually cut them off. Since I didn't know anyone, I decided to contact the former owner's best brother directly. After all, when the original male lead died, it was Wu Wenbin who arranged the funeral. The phone rang 4 times before someone answered. Hello. I looked up at the excessively pure blue sky over the villa area and said softly, Old Wu, I'm divorced. There was silence on the other end for 3 seconds, followed by an earth-shattering burst of laughter. Qi Boda, you finally saw the light. Wait there, I'm driving over to pick you up right away. Half an hour later, a heavily modified Lamborghini roared straight across the villa's lawn. The car window lowered, revealing a tanned face. Damn, why are you as thin as a cicada shell? The Azure Dragon tattoo on Wu Wenbin's arm was still there, but he was 2 sizes bigger than he was 3 years ago. I pulled my suitcase and walked over. Lu Ruyan once criticized muscular men for looking like thugs. Thugs, my ass. Wu Wenbin jumped out of the car and helped me with my luggage. He was the school's basketball team captain back then, and now he was scrawny like a white chicken. He suddenly stopped, staring at the bruises on my neck. Who hit you like this? I gently rubbed the spot Lu Ruyan squeezed last night. The nail polish marks were quite clear. Old Wu's fist slammed straight down onto the steering wheel, and the car horn blared, scattering a flock of sparrows in fear. Damn it, let's go eat first. Today, I'm going to stuff you back up to 140 pounds, no matter what. In the private room of a hot fish stew restaurant, I devoured 3 bowls of rice instantly. Wu Wenbin fed me food while scolding me. I told you back then that woman was no good. You insisted she was gentle and demure. He suddenly lowered his voice. How did you split the assets? I let out a puff of smoke. We're signing at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. All post-nuptial assets belong to me. What about the houses? All of them, including the 6 villas. I remembered Lu Ruyan's wrinkled, regretful face when she signed the agreement. She originally intended to pull some slippery tricks. Fortunately, I gave her an ultimatum. How about we let the court handle the adultery case instead? Wu Wenbin laughed so hard the wrinkles around the corners of his eyes crinkled up. Well done, Chiboda. Your brain finally cleared up after the divorce. Lu Ruyan glanced at the old t-shirt I was wearing. Divorced, and you can't even afford a decent set of clothes. Ruyan, brother must be feigning pity. Damn it, I really just wanted to slap his face. Could a man really be this disgusting? I quickly wiggled my ear. At least I'm not like some people, rushing to wear a wedding dress before the divorce papers are even signed. Lu Ruyan's face immediately changed. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to know about her and Di Tengqing's upcoming wedding. When the staff handed over the documents, I signed everything with a flourish. Suddenly, Lu Ruyan pressed down on the last page, the section regarding the parking space in the garage. I nodded decisively. I'll convert it into money for you. After all, that house was your prenuptial asset, and I have no use for the post-nuptial parking space. She looked at me suspiciously, probably not understanding why I was being so generous. Exiting the Civil Affairs Bureau, I held up the newly received divorce certificate, letting the sunlight shine on it, examining it for a long time. Just then, Lu Ruyan approached me with a serious face. Wait, I hope you won't bully H'ing anymore in the future, otherwise, I won't let you off. Are you sick? I immediately shoved the divorce certificate into my pocket and snapped straight at Lu Ruyan's face. Got a problem? We're divorced, and you still intend to harass me. Then, I turned and delivered a kick that left a clear black shoe print on Di Tengqing's pristine white suit. Both of them stared at me in disbelief. I pointed directly at Di Tengqing, full of disdain. If I find out you dare to slander me behind my back again, I'll beat you every time I see you. Lu Ruyan rushed to protect him, helping him up and looking at me fiercely. Di Tengqing put on a deeply wronged expression. Ruyan, it's okay. I know brother is still angry. After all, he only divorced because of me. Just take it out on me, please don't make things difficult for Ruyan. I burst into laughter. Fine, you said it yourself. I smiled and called Wu Wenbin, asking him to call a few more brothers to help liven up the new house. I only sold that parking space, but I already had enough money to redo the interior. It was a huge profit. 3 days later, in a villa in the Azure Lake Garden area, I was lying on a massage chair enjoying the newly purchased smart home system. My phone vibrated with a video sent by Wu Wenbin. I opened it to see Di Tengqing, with a bruised nose and a black eye, sitting in front of the camera crying. Chiboda sent people to beat me. I want to call the police. In the background, I could hear Wu Wenbin's voice cursing. Didn't you say I could take out the anger on you? I laughed and called back. Go easy on him, don't leave external marks. Don't worry, I'm a professional. Wu Wenbin leaned closer to the receiver, lowering his voice. But this dog is truly weak, he peed his pants after just 2 hits. Hanging up, I opened my computer to check my bank account. The process of transferring the 6 villas split during the divorce was complete. Lu Ruyan didn't dare pull any tricks on this matter because the evidence of her adultery was still in my hands. While I was calculating how to handle these real estate properties, the doorbell unexpectedly rang. The surveillance screen showed Zhang Zuelan standing outside, her face darkened with fury. I turned on the intercom. Mom, you've got the wrong house. Your beloved son Di Tengqing is right next door. Her voice was shrill. Chiboda, did you send people to beat H'ing? I leisurely sipped my coffee. He said so himself, so tell him to come here and confront me. He's in the hospital right now. Zhang Zuelan was trembling with rage. You. How can you be so vicious? Vicious? I gave a cold laugh. Compared to you helping an outsider steal your biological son's wife, what is this? Zhang Zuelan's face instantly went white, changing rapidly. I knew what she was thinking. I wonder if she ever checked after I exposed Di Tengqing's identity that day? I deliberately lowered my voice. Mom, if you're really worried about him, why don't you go check how much wealth he and Lu Ruyan have been secretly transferring lately? I hear it involves smuggling. Zhang Zuelon's pupils immediately contracted. I watched with satisfaction as her panicked figure hurried away. Just then, my phone unexpectedly received a multimedia message from an unknown number. I opened it. It was a hospital injury assessment report. Below, there was an added line, "Chi Boda, this isn't over yet." I laughed contemptuously and immediately forwarded it to Wu Wenbin. "Prepare for round 2. Early the next morning, I was woken up by the phone ringing. "Dazi, we have a problem." Wu Wenbin's voice was rarely this frantic. "Last night, the guys all got arrested. They said it was for suspicion of intentional assault." I bolted out of bed. Di Tengqing called the police, right? "No, Lu Ruyan." Wu Wenbin gritted his teeth. "That woman found connections, and she's trying to escalate this into a triad investigation." I gripped the phone tightly. In that instant, I suddenly understood that this was Lu Ruyan's retaliation for the slap I gave her that day at the Civil Affairs Bureau. 2 hours later, I sat in the lawyer's office, and the situation was not optimistic. Lawyer Zhou pushed up his glasses, speaking slowly. "The other side has an injury report confirming grade 2 minor injuries. If they insist on pressing charges, it will cost a fortune just to settle." I cut him off. "It's not a money issue. The Lu family has enlisted the help of Chief Prosecutor Wang." Just as we were talking, the office door was pushed open. Lu Ruyan walked in arm with Di Tengqing, followed by 2 uniformed police officers. She curled her bright red lips. "Chi Boda, are you scared now?" Di Tengqing was hiding behind her, still wearing a bandage on his face, his eyes full of smugness. I stood up and suddenly smiled. "Lu Ruyan, do you remember that rainy night 3 years ago? You called me, saying you had hit someone on Tanjiong Road." Her face immediately changed. "I took the fall for you, and my license had all 12 points deducted." The 2 police officers unconsciously paused, looking at Lu Ruyan with suspicion. Her voice trembled. "You? What nonsense are you talking about?" I took out my phone and played a recording. "Ruyan, I've handled the camera footage. Just say I was driving the car." In the recording, the young voice of the original Chi Boda sounded clearly. I looked at the police. "Do you need to re-examine the crime scene handling records from that year? The statute of limitations for concealing a crime is 5 years." Lu Ruyan's exquisite makeup began to crack. Di Tengqing frantically pulled her sleeve. "Ruyan, he's just trying to scare you." "Shut up," she violently shook off his hand, her high heel nearly twisting. In the end, this farce concluded with a settlement between the 2 parties. Leaving the station, Wu Wenbin's brothers were also just released. Old Wu rushed up and punched me lightly. "Holy crap, well done. You were hiding a trump card like that from me." I watched Lu Ruyan struggling back as she left, letting out a slight sigh. It turned out the original Chi Boda wasn't entirely spineless. At least for the person he loved, he had risked everything to protect her, even if she was completely undeserving. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of the Azure Lake Garden Villa, holding a glass of whiskey in my hand, the ice cubes slowly melting in the amber liquid. I had to admit, the rich people in these novels really knew how to enjoy themselves. Wu Wenbin sat on the sofa, flipping through the documents, his eyebrows furrowing tighter and tighter. "Dazi, what you asked me to check out is quite interesting." He pulled out a sheet of paper and handed it to me. Di Tengqing has recently been secretly transferring the Qi family's assets, and he's using a shell company that Lu Ruyan is completely unaware of to carry out the operations. I took it and glanced over it. It was full of foreign accounts, fake contracts, and cash flow, every detail deliberately kept out of Lu Ruyan's sight. Wu Wenbin snorted. "This dog is simultaneously sweet-talking Lu Ruyan into marriage and secretly draining the Qi family dry behind their backs. This is just the beginning. Once he bleeds the Qi family dry, the Lu family will be next." In the original novel, when everything came to light, Lu Ruyan couldn't believe Di Tengqing was capable of this. Only when the police presented the evidence did she realize the shocking truth. That was when she finally remembered the original Chi Boda. Unfortunately, the original owner was already dead by then. Because Di Tengqing had pinned all of the Qi group's crimes on him, the original owner hadn't fought back, only cowardly committing suicide. After that, Lu Ruyan began to pity herself, frantically searching, and finally found out from Wu Wenbin that the original owner had died. I lightly swirled the glass of wine. The ice cubes clinked together, making a crisp sound. "Lu Ruyan, does she know?" Old Wu sneered. "Your ex-wife is currently busy preparing for her wedding. Where would she find the time to worry about these things?" I threw back the glass, the hot alcohol scorching my throat, bringing a fiery sense of pleasure. Interesting. I set the glass down. Then let's let our white moonlight soar a little higher. 5 days later was the annual shareholders meeting of the Chi Group. I pushed open the conference room door and walked in. Di Tengqing, who was in the middle of a speech, froze. Today, he was wearing a high-end suit, with a badge pinned to his chest representing the acting chairman, looking incredibly pleased with himself. Chi Boda, he tried to sound calm. This is a shareholders meeting. I casually walked straight to the front row and sat down. Exactly, that's why I'm here. Go ahead, I'm listening. The financial report was being presented on the screen, and several figures had clearly been manipulated. I let out a light laugh, the volume neither loud nor soft, just enough for everyone nearby to hear. If you're going to fake the books, at least try to be professional. Di Tengqing's face immediately turned pale. Qi Jiangwo angrily slammed his hand on the table. Chi Boda, stop causing trouble here. I slowly pulled out my share certificate. Father, as a shareholder holding 10% of the stock, I have the right to question the authenticity of this report. Di Tengqing was stunned. Where did you get the shares? I chuckled, deliberately raising an eyebrow toward Lu Ruyan. From the money my ex-wife gave me, of course. The entire hall erupted in murmurs. Sweat beaded on the forehead of the chief financial officer. He kept secretly glancing at Di Tengqing, swallowing his blood to spit at others, stammering, his voice trembling. Ruyan, you need to say something. Lu Ruyan sat in the shareholder section, her brows tightly furrowed. Today, she wore an elegant and dignified outfit, but her eyes were starting to waver. She asked softly, Aiching, what about the Q3 overseas investment? The back of Di Tengqing's suit was already drenched. It's just normal business expansion. I interjected at the perfect moment. Expansion straight into a private Swiss bank account? The entire hall exploded. An hour later, in the legal office of the Chi Group, Lu Ruyan threw a stack of documents straight at Di Tengqing's face. You dared to use my name to establish a company? I leaned against the doorframe, savoring his haggard look. The elaborate scheme he had meticulously planned was ruined at the last step. The transfer records he thought no one would ever discover were now laid bare on the table. Qi Jiangwo looked like he had aged 10 years, his finger trembling as he pointed at his face. Call the police. Call the police now. Father, I was forced. It was all Lu Ruyan. Enough. Lu Ruyan screamed, cutting him off, spinning around, her high heel nearly twisting. Her gaze toward me was complex. You knew about this all along, didn't you? I shrugged. But if I had told you, would you have believed me? She opened her mouth but ultimately couldn't utter a single word. That night, the financial news was rocked. The Chi Group exploded in a financial scandal, and Di Tengqing was suspected of embezzlement, officially being arrested. The Lu Group quickly released a statement. Ms. Lu Ruyan was deceived and would fully cooperate with the investigation. I turned off the TV and called Wu Wenbin. Let's go out for a drink. A hearty laugh rang out from the other end of the line. Sure thing, congratulations on getting your revenge. I lightly shook the bottle of liquor in my hand, not to celebrate, but to commemorate the original owner. I sat on the balcony of the Azure Lake Garden Villa, the morning sun streaming through the glass onto the newspaper that had just been delivered. The front page bore the bold headline, Chi Group stock plummets, long-established enterprise faces bankruptcy risk. Wu Wenbin walked over with 2 cups of coffee, pushing one towards me. Looking at this situation, I'm afraid your father can't hold on much longer. I took a sip, the bitterness made me wince. He deserves it. Suddenly, my phone vibrated with a text message from an unknown number. Let's meet. About Aicheng. I stared at the screen for 3 seconds, then replied. Time and location. 3 p.m., South City Detention Center. This time, Lu Ruyan looked far more haggard than before. She wore no makeup, and her Max Mara coat was wrinkled as if it hadn't been changed in days. He lied to me, she opened frankly, her voice hoarse. Those foreign accounts, the smuggling contracts, I genuinely had no idea. I leaned against the plastic chair in the visitation room. She suddenly grabbed my hand, her fingernails digging deep into my skin. So, can you drop the lawsuit? Consider it for the sake of 3 years of marriage. I pulled my hand back, smiling faintly. Lu Ruyan, do you know what the most ridiculous thing is? Every single forgery Di Tengqing committed was deliberately kept out of your sight. Because he knew better than anyone else that although the Liu family's pampered daughter is arrogant, she still maintains a bottom line. Her pupils briefly contracted. I stood up, speaking slowly. Let me guess, he knelt and begged you to come see me, promising that as long as I let go, he would marry you immediately once he got out, right? Liu Ruiyan's face turned pale. Leaving the detention center, Wu Wenbin's car was already parked by the roadside. He rolled down the window. How did the talk go? I opened the car door. To the Qi Group headquarters. On the top floor of the Qi Group building, Qi Jiangwo, like a cornered beast, was furiously smashing things in his office, with shredded reports scattered across the floor. As soon as he saw me walk in, he grabbed a teacup and threw it at me. You rebellious son, are you satisfied now? The cup shattered at my feet, ceramic shards flying everywhere. Not yet, I said calmly. My goal is 51% of the shares, so I want to buy all the shares you hold. Qi Jiangwo's face flushed with fury. What are you going to buy them with? I pulled out the iPad and opened a document. With this. The screen displayed a contract for the transfer of 25% of the shares under his name. As your son, I have the right to inherit. I believe the bank will loan me the remaining 14%. I lowered my voice. Either you hand over the shares to me, or the Qi Group will rot away in court. Qi Jiangwo sank into his leather chair, looking momentarily completely drained of life force. 3 days later, the front page of the financial section read, Qi Group completes restructuring, Qi Boda assumes office as new chairman. The Liu Group simultaneously announced the cancellation of all cooperation with Di Tengqing. Exclusive report, Liu Ruiyan has flown to Switzerland for recuperation. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Qi Group building, gazing down at the entire city. Wu Wenbin pushed the door open, carrying 2 bottles of champagne. Congratulations, CEO Qi. Don't call me that, it's annoying. I took a bottle of wine and laughed loudly. Before transmigrating, I was just a small-time worker. Who knew I'd end up a big boss? Wu Wenbin smirked. Then I'll call you Dazi, for old time's sake. Pop. The champagne cork shot out, and the foam gushed. We drank straight from the bottles like we were back in college, the wine spilling down our chins. Wu Wenbin suddenly spoke. Liu Ruiyan had a miscarriage the day before yesterday, and she flew to Switzerland this morning. I watched the plane taking off outside the window. What does that have to do with me? Want to go fishing this afternoon? Epilogue. It had been a long time since we last met. Zhang Zuelan and Qi Jiangwo finally divorced. She hired people to investigate countless scandals of his, successfully forcing him to leave empty-handed. That cheap father finally left the house with nothing left. I heard his former mistress, Di Tengfengzi, also hastily fled back to Japan, not even attending Di Tengqing's trial. As for Zhang Zuelan, she occasionally sought me out, hoping for forgiveness. That middle-aged woman, once foolishly devoted, was finally a little wiser. After all, she had won against Qi Jiangwo. Just as I was still thinking of ways to take revenge on the others, my phone rang. The voice on the other end was tired. Please stop your tricks, you've ruined my story. The phone in my hand trembled slightly. The voice was hoarse, mixed with fury and helplessness. You've destroyed my entire plot. The male lead is not allowed to resist, not allowed to seek revenge, and certainly cannot stand at the pinnacle of power. You were only supposed to be spineless, allowing others to trample you, and then cowardly commit suicide. That was your fate. I laughed, speaking slowly, word by word. I apologize, but I am not a puppet in the hands of an anonymous writer. I live in this body, and I will live my life my way. The old plot has collapsed, and I will write the sequel. The other end of the line was silent for a long time, eventually leaving only a cold beeping sound. I leaned back in my chair, taking a sip of whiskey, the hot alcohol spreading through my throat. Outside the window, the prosperous city glowed with bright lights, towering buildings standing proudly as if to witness the change. From a pathetic male lead forced to endure all insults, to today, I had flipped the chessboard, repaying every debt to the betrayers, crushing the tragedy the author had set up. Perhaps this is the story that truly belongs to Qi Boda. I raised the glass slightly towards my reflection on the glass. Original owner, rest in peace. I will live the rest of your life as a life of freedom, living with my head held high. Outside, a new dawn was breaking.